At some point, you learned a fact so basic you never once questioned it. This is what makes babies. You've known it since you were a kid. So obvious it barely feels like knowledge at all. But here's the question almost nobody asks. Did humans always know that? Let's put you there. 300,000 years ago, no calendars, no writing, no science. Your brain is built to connect cause and effect fast. Touch fire, feel pain immediately. Eat something rotten, you're sick within hours. Now stretch that gap to 9 months. The moment something begins, and the moment you'd actually see proof of it, aren't even close together. No calendars, no dates. Often, multiple partners involved. That gap wasn't a small inconvenience, it was nearly impossible to piece together. And there's real evidence this confusion was widespread. In the early 1900s, an anthropologist named Bronisław Malinowski sailed to a small chain of islands off New Guinea, the Trobriand Islands. And what he found there stunned him. The islanders flatly denied that this had anything to do with a baby arriving. Instead, they believed ancestor spirits entered a woman's body and became her child. Modern researchers still debate how literally to take this. Some say it reflects a different worldview, not ignorance. But either way, it proves something important. This knowledge was never automatic. Somebody somewhere had to figure it out. So what finally forced the connection? The answer probably wasn't philosophy. It was farming. About 10,000 years ago, humans began domesticating animals, sheep, goats, cattle, and controlling which animals had young meant deliberately keeping males and females together. Counting the months until new life showed up, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Historians believe it started right here in the pens and barns, then spread to an obvious question about ourselves. But that was only half the mystery solved, because even after humans accepted the connection was real, they had almost no idea how it worked. For over 2,000 years, the dominant explanation came from one man, Aristotle. He believed the father provided the blueprint for a new human, while the mother's body simply supplied raw material, like clay waiting to be shaped. In his view, women contributed almost nothing except a space to grow. It sounds absurd today. For 2,000 years, almost nobody questioned it. Then, in the 1600s, scientists got their hands on the first microscopes, and things got stranger, not clearer. Some became convinced they could see a tiny, fully formed human curled inside a single microscopic cell. They called it a homunculus, a little person. The theory: every person who would ever be born already existed, nested inside their father and his father before him, all the way back to the very first human. It sounds absurd today, but for decades, respected scientists drew detailed illustrations of these imaginary miniature people, utterly convinced. Meanwhile, in medieval Europe, people believed something else entirely: that an unborn child had no soul and wasn't truly alive, until the mother first felt it move, a moment they called quickening. This wasn't one clear event. It was a blurry process. So people knew that it happened. They just had no idea how, not for thousands of years. So when did we actually crack it? In 1677, a Dutch scientist named Antony van Leeuwenhoek, he looked through one of the most powerful microscopes ever built and became the first human being in history to see these tiny swimming cells. He called them animalcules because he genuinely believed they were microscopic swimming animals. But even then, he'd only found half the equation. It took another century and a half. In 1827, Carl Ernst von Baer finally identified the other cell, the one inside the mother. Now, both pieces of the puzzle existed, but nobody had ever actually watched them combine. That final piece didn't arrive until 1876, less than 150 years ago. A biologist named Oscar Hertwig, studying sea urchins under a microscope, became the first person in history to directly witness two cells fuse into one, the actual mechanism. Confirmed. With human eyes. Let that sink in. Humans have existed for roughly 300,000 years, and the true mechanism of how a new human is made was only confirmed a little over a century ago. For over 99% of human history, our species reproduced successfully without anyone knowing how it worked. Today, you can order a test and know with total certainty exactly who a child's biological father is. A fact that would have looked like literal magic to almost every human who ever lived before you. So next time something in your life feels obvious, permanent, like it's always just been common knowledge, remember this. It took our entire species hundreds of thousands of years and thousands of brilliant minds just to see clearly. You didn't figure this out. You were simply born after somebody else finally did.